The talk is divided into 3 subtopics. The first one is unaffirmed, and this is on your handouts. The second one is affirmed, and the third is affirming. Number 1, just to give you briefly a definition of these. Number 1, unaffirmed. That's when one does not feel one's own worth because he or she has not consistently received the gift of affirmation from an affirming other. Number 2, affirmed. That's when one feels one's worth because he or she has consistently received the gift of affirmation from an affirming other. And number 3, affirming. This is when an affirmed person gives the gift of affirmation to another. The ideas I'm presenting tonight have been developed by 2 Catholic Christian psychiatrists, Drs. Conrad Bars and Anna Teruel. They're based on St. Thomas Aquinas, as I said, who largely based what he wrote on the writings of Aristotle. They're in alignment with the magisterium. There have been many encyclicals in the past that have honored Aquinas and encouraged theologians to be rooted in Aquinas. I have a quote here from a former Pope, Blessed Urban V. It's what he said to the University of Toulouse. He said, "It is our will, which we hereby enjoin upon you, that ye follow the teaching of Blessed Thomas as the true and Catholic doctrine, and that ye labor with all your force to profit by the same." And more recently, from Pope John Paul II, in Veritatis Splendor, he cited St. Thomas Aquinas 11 times. And if you look in the Catechism, St. Thomas is cited more than anyone else. So for subtopic number 1, unaffirmed, I'd like to paraphrase Aquinas. One cannot give what one has not yet received. In other words, if you haven't been affirmed, you cannot give the gift of affirmation to someone else. Cannot be expected to. I want to give some quotes that I've heard from clients and some other people that I've known that have not been affirmed yet. This will help explain a little bit what it's like to be not affirmed. Quite often, I'll hear clients say, "I know my parents love me, but I don't feel loved by them." I had a female client who said, "My mother was not happy about my birth because she wanted a boy." And her mother actually told her this. And she could feel it anyway. Another one, "My parents liked my sister more than me." Another one, I hear this all the time, "I always feel like I don't add up when I'm with my father." And another one, "When I was growing up, my father said I always focus on the negative. That if there's something negative about something, I would find it." And that client, when she first came in to my office, because of that, whenever she felt sad, angry, or afraid, she felt ashamed, as if there's something wrong with her. Now, how do I know if I am unaffirmed? Well, if I feel like a child in a world of adults, then I'm unaffirmed, as if I'm faking it when I'm with others. Also, if I'm a social wallflower, I might not be affirmed. I have this book. It's called The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It's called the DSM. You know this book. It has hundreds of diagnoses. It's everything that I could possibly diagnose someone with. And I studied under someone named Dr. William Glasser, who said all the diagnoses in this book could be summed up under one diagnosis called unhappy. And I think he's right. And I think most people who are unhappy and fit under the criteria of one of these diagnoses, at least many people who fit under these diagnoses, have not yet been affirmed. Now, how did it happen? How can someone be in a state of being unaffirmed? Well, from talking to my clients, a lot of times there's stories of either being physically, verbally, or emotionally abused by their parents. Also, I think we've had generations of neglectful parents. And even to this day, I say it's almost like the parents got together and just agreed that they're going to support one another in being neglectful. I know that didn't happen, but that's how I feel. Some of you might have heard this, from your mother or father. Yeah, go out, play, do whatever you want. Just make sure you're back by the time the streetlights come on. Has anyone heard that one? And what happened while you were gone? Who knows, right? Or don't go to the end of the block. Don't go past the end of the block. But they weren't watching you. So did you go past the end of the block? They don't know. And what did you get into? Who knows? So that actually falls under neglect, and it's so common we don't even think of it as neglect. Another way of staying in a state of being unaffirmed is if you grew up with constant physical or verbal fights with your siblings. And that would be because affirming parents would sort things out and teach you how to get along with one another and care about justice and look into things and make sure justice is being carried out. Also, this can happen when parents have an anxiety about or an improper understanding of the emotions, especially fear, anger, and sadness. Some common symptoms of being unaffirmed would be if those who are close to you consider you overly sensitive. Also, an inability to relate to others, to form pure yet intimate friendships, or to have a mutually affirming marriage. Another common symptom are feelings of uncertainty or insecurity, and feelings of inferiority and inadequacy. Also, if you have increasing feelings of depression, then you're probably unaffirmed. There's a type of being unaffirmed called self-affirmation or pseudo-affirmation. This is when you try to affirm yourself and it doesn't work. I'm saying in all cases when you try to affirm yourself, it doesn't work. Self-affirmation is when feelings of inferiority give rise to feelings of superiority. It's, in other words, when you have deep feelings of shame that give rise to an idealized sense of self or a false pride. This happens when we engage in excessive striving in order to convince ourselves that we are worthy of love and admiration. Symptoms of this would be you're successful, in quotes, in a worldly or material way, but these successes never fill that hole. There's always that underlying hole that's called emotional deprivation, which is to be separate from someone who just happens to be successful but doesn't feel that emotional deprivation underneath.